Well, in the lead up to the 2028 US election, the Republican secret weapon may well be Hunter Biden. Joe Biden's troubled son has given a rambling interview in which he says white Americans are violent, illegal migrants are necessary to clean hotel rooms, and his father's disastrous debating performance against Donald Trump was due to him being doped up on sleeping tablets. Here's some of what he had to say.
He's 81 years old. He's tired as They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights. And it feeds into every story that anybody wants to tell. And Jake Tapper with literally how many anonymous sources. If this was a conspiracy, Andrew, you know this, somehow the entirety of a White House in which you literally living on top of each other has kept their mouth shut.
Now, if I were the Republicans, I'd be hoping Hunter Biden keeps on giving interviews right up until the 2028 election. Joining me now is former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Sean, I want to go through a bit of what Hunter said, but let's start with the claim that his father was affected by sleeping tablets during that disastrous presidential debate. What do you make of that claim?
Well, I mean, first, it's the first time that we're hearing about that, right, James? It seems odd that literally a year ago this happened, and now we're hearing about it. Number two, look, just stop and think about this for a second. You're giving the most consequential political interview, debate, moment of your life. That's what that really would have been. And to think that taking an Ambien before that would have been smart. I just don't. He's under the constant care of some of the best doctors in the world. It doesn't pass the smell test, if you will.
Come on, Sean. Hunter Biden wouldn't be lying, would he?
Or, yeah, the idea that he's blaming everybody for things that were obvious and, frankly, a cover-up. He wants to blame George Clooney, white people, David Axelrod, Pluff, all of the Anita Dunn, his father's own top staffers. It's just, I mean, at some point, it's pretty sad. I mean, you're blaming everybody but looking in the mirror.
Well, Sean, just on that, let's have a listen to what he said about George Clooney.
He is a like, I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. You, what do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country?
So Hunter claims Clooney deliberately embarrassed his father in retaliation for Joe Biden criticising the arrest warrant issued for Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu. The warrant was drawn up in part by George Clooney's wife. Talk about conspiracy theories, Sean.
He wants to blame everybody else for his problems. And the bottom line is that from all the books that are coming out, it's pretty obvious that Hunter Biden played a very large role. So maybe, just maybe, he should look in the mirror and blame himself. But beyond that, nobody was talking about him, James. I mean, the CEO of that tech firm was getting all the play in America after that shot on the Coldplay Kiss Cam. And yet Hunter Biden then stepped in the middle and said, no, I want to say something even dumber.
There's one more thing he said that is worth noting. Hunter was highly critical of white people and their disdain of illegal immigrants. Have a listen and please excuse the profanity, but it seems Hunter is unable to express himself without liberal sprinklings of the F word. Here he is.
People are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are criminals?
Sean, it's a little rich for Hunter Biden, of all people, to be talking about law and order.
Yeah, a guy who, let's just say, hasn't been the most upstanding person when it comes to law and order. But beyond that, on principle, James, he's wrong as well. I mean, look, I believe that there is a debate in this country about paying people. Part of the problem that we have with illegal aliens in this country is that we're not paying the American people, in some cases, what they should be paid, and it's a backdoor. So I think there's a conversation that could be had. But to blame that on, to say, I mean, look, this is the weirdest thing for people who claim to care about other people. just stop for a second. The Democratic Party writ large, the left and Hunter Biden, I would throw into that whole category, are basically saying, let's not criticize the people that we treat as less than human. Let's not critique the people who, he keeps saying these people who work in our hotel rooms and do all this stuff and clean our houses. Well, at the end of the day, they are, instead of advocating for their behalf, and saying, no, let's figure out how to get around this and pay Americans to do this. They actually want to perpetuate this class of people. I find it so ironic that we're having this discussion and that Hunter Biden wants to perpetuate that myth.
Yeah, it's a really good point. All right, let's move on to some other issues in the United States right now. This one's interesting. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has said she has evidence that former President Barack Obama used his last days in office to lay the groundwork for the Russia collusion conspiracy that would ultimately plague Trump's first term. She's using words like treason. Here she is.
President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence that sought to achieve President Obama and his team's objective, which was undermining President Trump's presidency.
Where do you see this going?
Well, James, look, this is personal for me and for a lot of people that worked for President Trump. We were investigated or called as witnesses during the Mueller probe. And for people who don't get this, this was literally thousands upon thousands of dollars in legal fees. Many of my former colleagues got bankrupted or had their lives turned upside down. And so if we have evidence that shows that this all really was not just a hoax, but intentionally perpetrated, these people need to be held accountable. And I'm glad that Tulsi Gabbard is making a referral to the Department of Justice. What
chance that any criminal charges would ever be laid?
It's an interesting question. I hope good amount. I hope that she had all of her ducks in a row when she came out and made this charge.
All right. Well, just when you thought the Democrats couldn't possibly nominate a worse candidate for mayor than Zoran Mamdani in New York, they've nominated Omar Fateh in Minneapolis. He's a Somali-American Muslim who's ultra-left-wing, and he's upset a lot of people with speeches like this one where he calls Somalia his home.
I understand that our Somali communities are all connected to each other here in Minnesota and back home, and I ask for your support. There's always been a link between our community here as well as back home, and I'm running to bridge that gap.
Right, Sean, what can you tell us about this guy, Omar Fateh?
Look, James, this is the same area where Congresswoman Ilhan Omar is from. They sort of have a history of electing people that like to criticize America. At some point, I feel like the voters are getting what they deserve. So they've seen this movie before with her. She's represented them in this area in Congress before. I thought a lot of Americans would have got the warning with the leftist policies that Mamdani was expressing in New York. But clearly, this is what concerns me is a pattern. Is this just another one-off candidate, or are we seeing the Democrats continue to elect people that are frankly associating themselves with far-left socialist policies?
Well, just finally, Pete Buttigieg is one of the key Democrats who will likely run for president in 2028. But his bid won't be helped by revelations he spent more than half the Transport Department's budget on DEI programs when he oversaw that for the Biden administration. Apparently spent more than $80 billion in 4 years, not on things like upgrading air traffic control systems or better rail infrastructure, but on increasing diversity within the Transport Department.
Here's the worst part, James. It's the why. Why he spent $80 million on DEI policies. It's because when he ran for president the first time, he had tremendous issues with the black population in the Democratic Party. And so I think he wanted to use these federal grants to really ingratiate himself with especially metropolitan areas where there might be a primary, an early state. What's scary is a recent poll showed Buttigieg at 0% among black Americans. Now, here's the funny thing about that. Most polls have a plus or minus 3 or 4. So he actually could be in the hole with black Americans. It's that bad. But what shows me is not just how he wasted the money that could have been spent on critical infrastructure in America, but in fact that he tried to do something with it and got a 0 result out of it, which really speaks to his capabilities.
Well, I don't think he's Robinson Crusoe in that regard. I reckon he's got a few friends in the United States, particularly amongst the Democrats. Sean Spicer, it's always a joy to speak to you. Thanks for joining me
Thanks,
tonight.
James. You bet.